Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United podcast. I'm your host, TC, and here's my co-host. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello, pal. I'm all right. Yourself?
I'm all right, big boy.
Good.
On today's show, we look back on our insipid display against Rochdale before previewing the big match against our old rivals Arsenal on Monday. First, we made hard work of that on Wednesday night, picked up some more injuries, not the fillip we were hoping for in the League Cup. Lucky to qualify, Scott.
Yeah, it was awful, wasn't it? To be honest. The same old nonsense, pal.
Yes, Scott, it really was. Look, let's get straight into it. We lined up with Romero in goal, Wan-Bissaka right back, Axel Tuanzebe started at centre-back and captained the side. Can I get your thoughts on that first, Scott?
Probably the most committed to the whole squad, pal.
And he wore the captain's armband in an exemplary way, I thought.
He did. And, he had an interview with MUTV earlier in the week saying that it's his lifelong ambition to captain the Reds, and it happened only a few days later.
Let's hope he doesn't down tools like the rest of them now. Mate, but honestly, let's look at the bright side there. It was a bit of a strange decision in one way. Obviously, Ollie sent a message to Paul Pogba in particular there, because Paul Pogba started the match.
Yeah.
And he gave the armband to Tuanzebe. So that says a lot. But at the same time, Tuanzebe has captained United at every single age group level, arrived in England without speaking a word of English back when he was a toddler. And he's built a life here for himself, and you have to tip your hat to him. He was given the armband minutes before the game, and he didn't shrink under the spotlight, and he'd have every right to, in all realism.
Absolutely. The same sort of way we were talking about what we want in a manager is an absolute love for the club. And I think we want the same from a captain. We want pride and never giving up. And those are two qualities that you can definitely see in Axel.
Yeah. And we had Wan-Bissaka and Tuanzebe in one half of the defence and Jones and Rojo in the other half. And it certainly didn't seem like Wan-Bissaka and Tuanzebe had been here. Well, I mean, obviously Tuanzebe's been here all his life, but in the first team squad, just a few months really, compared to Jones and Rojo, who've been here a long time. And Tuanzebe and Wan-Bissaka put them in the shade, really, if I'm honest. Fred, Pogba, Lingard, Pereira, Chong and Greenwood completed the lineup. So Pogba came back into the side. Fred, Lingard, as we say, Pereira pushed out on the right, really. Chong and Greenwood as well. What did you make of it, pal? Pogba reinstated into the side. Not much change from him, really, either.
No, there wasn't. Again, lack of commitment, lack of passion, lack of pride. And I was actually sitting there thinking before the game, I was wondering when he actually did get injured. He had been out for 3 games. And there was never a moment in a game that he was subject to a terrible tackle or anything, or you ever seen him limping. And I actually wonder whether he was injured at all.
Yes, well, that's the other thing, isn't it? And we'll get to that later, because in the penalty shootout, there was a little bit more stuff to talk about there around Pogba, because Pogba didn't take a penalty at the end, but we will touch on that. He did miss an awful chance early on, Paul Pogba, free header. You've got to be scoring them, I think, off his shoulder again.
Yep, great cross from Mason Greenwood. Finish was awful.
Yes, yeah.
Can we actually just start off by saying that the crowd were fantastic throughout the whole game? Didn't stop singing. Loved the new song for Axel. They were just wonderful to hear.
Yes, and you know what, mate, and we will get onto Ollie's press conference later. He did touch on the fans in that press conference, and he did say that the fans in the stadium support is exemplary. It's fantastic. Obviously, on social media, people can hide behind profiles and whatever else, and I wouldn't expect any different. I wouldn't expect any different from the Old Trafford crowd. I've been a season ticket for many years, and you've been a season ticket holder for many years as well. We know exactly what it's like. In the ground, we are very, very supportive of the team and the manager. And also, let's think about it here. We're not talking about a guy who's managing the team who's been brought in on a win.
No, I know.
We're talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer here. We're talking about a guy who is, as I've said to you before, Scott, and I want to say it again. I know I said it to you earlier when we had a little chat before the pod. But for me, whatever happens with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's not going to change my opinion of what he did for us and where he stands in our pantheon of greats. I'm not going to let this big mess. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer shouldn't have had to come in and sort out this mess. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should not be our manager. He's had to come in and save us because we've basically soiled the bed.
Yep.
And someone needs to clean up the mess. So I'm not going to let it happen. Just like when I look at the pictures of 2008 and the Champions League final, I don't let Tevez ruin it. I hate Tevez now. I think he stitched us up totally. But when I look at that picture, I remember when Tevez was with us and when we were all dancing. I'm not going to let that ruin that day and those memories. And I won't do it with Ollie either. Look, I do think he made some mistakes on Wednesday. I do think he made some mistakes in the press conference earlier as well. This is not about me saying Ollie is totally beyond criticism. It's about me saying if and when he does leave the club, hopefully in many years to come, whatever happens, he leaves with me feeling the same way as when he arrived, because it's not his fault, mate.
No, I definitely agree with you. I'm just saying, after the awful performance at West Ham on Sunday, this is quite an on-the-fence moment with the crowd. They could have turned on him, or they could have got behind him, and I was just really happy to see and hear them get behind him and support him.
Yeah. And look, I'll go the other way now. I do, like I said, I do think he made mistakes. If Pogba is injured, I know you doubt it, but at the end he said that Pogba has picked up an ankle injury. He's aggravated an injury. He shouldn't be playing against Rochdale then. We've got Arsenal Monday night. Why?
Especially not 90 minutes.
Oh, come on. You can't have it both ways, and that, to me, if Pogba has aggravated an injury, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
It is a mistake. And Rashford playing last week against Astana and then getting injured off the back of that, to me, is a mistake too.
Mm-hmm.
But look, Alex Ferguson made loads of mistakes too. So this is not me digging out Ollie. We do have to say what we see. And I don't think Pogba should have started. I don't think he should have played 90 minutes either.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another story.
Yeah, but anyway, let's carry on with the game.
Wan-Bissaka. What do you think of Wan-Bissaka's performance? Obviously, he had that amazing clearance off the line. Not at his very, very best, I didn't think, but obviously had a different back four around him.
Compared to everyone else, I didn't think he had a terrible game. Again, that clearance was maybe one of the best clearances I've ever seen in my life. He put in some great crosses. He always got forward when possible, and he never looked out of place. He never looked flustered. I see him keep getting better and better. Maybe wasn't his best game, but definitely wasn't his worst, and he definitely wasn't the worst player out of everyone.
No, not by a long stretch. And obviously Mason Greenwood got the goal again. We did say, you said, Scott, once he gets one, then he'll get a few more, and you were right. He did get another one, this time on his left, cutting in. Jesse Lingard with his first assist for a long time. What do you think of the finish? It was very well taken indeed, wasn't it?
It was. Robin Van Persie-esque. I can't believe you didn't say it. I had that written down in my notes.
Well, you keep on telling me not to.
I had that. It was funny. I had that written down in my notes. It says Greenwood goal, patient build-up, RVP finish.
There you go. There you go.
I have to say, you just touched on Jesse Lingard. He had a chance in the first half, 42nd minute. His header went close. Great cross from Wan-Bissaka. I'd completely forgotten he was playing. I don't think he touched the ball 5 times in the first half. He was absolutely anonymous.
I know.
And to be playing number 10, maybe on the right a little bit, he should be touching the ball so much more. At least, I don't know, I feel like he's another one, similar to Pereira. His head goes down so quickly, and he just gets flustered by everything, and he goes missing for long periods of time.
You're right, Scott. And the biggest thing there is, look, you've got Jesse Lingard there, and you've got Pereira, Greenwood and Chong in front of him. That's the day for Jesse to stand up and take some responsibility, not go missing.
Of course.
I mean, you've got a bloody load of youngsters in front of you. What, come on, man. This is the time. This is not the time to play the passenger. This is the time to show them the way and set an example.
Ollie's appointed Axel as the skipper because he's been there for the longest, he's been there since he was a kid, and he's got the club's primary intentions at heart. He only puts the club first, blah, blah, blah. Now, that could be Jesse Lingard as well. And Jesse Lingard has years of experience on Axel. So, if anything, it should have been a huge wake-up call for him, right? That he's got into the first team, and now he's heading in the wrong direction.
I would say, I totally agree, Scott. A wake-up call for Lingard, Pogba, and Phil Jones, really. I mean, you all three of them should have been wearing the captain's armband for Manchester United on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw one way or the other. Jones probably blew it with his bust up with Ed Woodward, I guess, at the weekend. Lingard blew it with his with performances and attitude, and Pogba the same. So realistically, you're right that they all should have a long look in the mirror and think, why wasn't I wearing the captain's armband?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you want him to put things right with his performance, and I have to say, I think Jesse Lingard was maybe the worst player on the pitch for us, given he just didn't do anything. Really, he set a goal up, which a few years ago, Jesse Lingard would have taken that shot himself and smashed it in the top corner. Yeah. And now he just doesn't have any confidence, no creativity, no spark to him anymore. He just used to have a lot more going about him that I just don't see anymore.
It's mind-boggling, Scott. It's mind-boggling that Lingard was coached by Ollie. Ollie has obviously given Lingard a big old arm around the shoulder, Rashford too. He's basically given these guys every chance to succeed. It's the golden chance. Imagine you're in the United squad, Scott, and someone comes in, he's already managed you in the reserves, and he's saying, look, you've got a chance. You'd be rubbing your hands together thinking, this is it. This is my chance. Oh, and instead, they both got worse.
Mate.
They both regressed. It's almost like, so we've got our contract, we've got our place, we've got our blooming number on our back. Let's put our feet up. Come on.
Yeah. It's like they're playing for a big contract and not playing for on the pitch successes, right? Yeah, you got your Bentleys, you got your Range Rovers. Now you can just stop playing, stop trying, because you got everything you need.
Like I say about the Glazers, I say the same about the players. Look, Ferg used to say the same thing. If you're a fantastic player, if you're a top player, you'll earn all the money in the world. Don't worry about your contract. He always used to say that. And that's what I said to the Glazers. Look, forget about your blooming, your money-making schemes. If we're the number one club in the world, we'll be making revenues like you'd never have believed. You know, people talk about these record revenues, and I don't want to go down this stream today. We're going to do it another day, but they talk about these record revenues. United have posted record revenues. Which top club hasn't posted record revenues, Scott?
Yeah.
Everyone's posting record revenues. It's not because we're doing well. It's because everyone's moving up.
Yeah.
But the problem is, in the end, they'll start slipping away.
Yeah.
They'll start going off into the distance. So I don't buy that. But let's stick with the game. Let's not get into that today.
Yeah.
We had a 16-year-old right back score his first goal ever for Rochdale. Marcos Rojo, appalling play. I mean, he's got out-muscled by a little 16-year-old boy at the far post who smashed it in. It was appalling from Marcos Rojo.
Yeah, I could see it coming as well. You could see it coming a mile off.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, against Rochdale. You know, if we had been playing any Premier League, maybe even Championship team, we would have been beaten, trounced, and we might be sitting here in very, very different circumstances. But yeah, you could see it coming. Brandon Williams maybe as well. He'd come on for Phil Jones at half time. I mean, the whole left side of the defence was completely missing.
Yeah.
I don't really know who to blame.
Yeah. And you know what, mate? We obviously went to penalties, 1-1. And the main takeaway from the penalties is that Paul Pogba didn't take one. We won the penalty shootout 5-3. Sergio Romero with a nice save to basically steal it for us. But Paul Pogba, one of our regular penalty takers, did not take a spot kick. Apparently he had a swollen ankle. But you don't buy that, Scott?
I don't. I really don't. You know, I saw him all walking off the pitch, didn't have a limp at all. Yeah, I just question his commitment to us, pal. I mean, I have done all season, but now I really do.
Yeah.
Obviously, reports come out after the game that he's more desperate than ever to leave. He's asking for 600 grand a week in order to get his contract up. Remind me, TC, I know we brought on Daniel James, we brought on Brandon Williams. Did we bring on all three subs?
Yeah, Mata came on 85th minute for Lingard.
Mata came on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So not for Pogba. So Pogba must have been injured after the 85th minute, in inverted commas.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is, to be honest with you, a direct response to Ollie's commitment of letting him be captain. He's like, well, if you don't want to make me captain, I'm not gonna take a penalty. I'm not gonna do my bit for the team, which just stinks, mate. And I'm so sick of it. I'd let him go tomorrow for nothing.
Yeah. And listen, pal. So we've scraped through. Chelsea won 7-1 against Grimsby. We played a load of kids. Liverpool won 2-0 against MK Dons. We've drawn Chelsea in the next round, which is a disaster because now you know. Unfortunately, it's going to be Lampard's kids v Ollie's kids, and unfortunately, Ollie's kids are falling by the wayside. Chong was replaced on the 60th minute by Daniel James, scored the winning penalty. Danny James again, he's our bloody superstar at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
But Chong was abused relentlessly on social media afterwards by, again in inverted commas. We have to say this every time, Scott. United fans, inverted commas. We don't know if they're United fans or not. They could be trolls. But what I would say, Scott, is that pressure and stress is the biggest drainer of energy, is the biggest drainer of stamina. And a young player, what young players give you is they give you energy, they give you buzz. And I just really worry, Scott, that back in the day, that there's a reason why Fergie used to bring youngsters on for 20 minutes. Because you have the 20 minutes, and after the game, you're knackered. You feel like you played 2 games because the adrenaline of coming on at Old Trafford is that much. These guys have not just got the adrenaline of coming on at Old Trafford, they've also got the weight of the bloody world on their shoulders. And the thing is, it's just not fair to expect them to do it, Scott.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the other thing I have to point the finger at Ollie is that we've sold Lukaku, we've sold Sanchez, we've sold Herrera, we've sold Fellaini. I know we haven't sold any of them, some of them went for free, but they've all gone. And we basically said we're going to trust these youngsters. But then we're not trusting the youngsters, are we? Because Garner's not playing. Chong came off after 60 minutes, and then we're left with just Greenwood on. Out of the youngsters, really, what Greenwood and Tuanzebe, I guess. I wouldn't say Pereira's a youngster anymore, is he? So it's bizarre to me. Back in the day, remember when Fergie used to play the youngsters quite a lot, everyone used to criticise him, or the press used to criticise him, say, oh, you're going to burn them out. They're going to be burnt out like Michael Owen. And back in the day, the premise is that don't play youngsters too much because they'll burn out later. The world seems to have changed totally, and now it's like, you know, everyone's criticising people for not playing Rashford enough.
Yeah.
when I'd suggest he plays too
Yeah.
much. It all seems the wrong way around to me, Scott.
Yeah, and Berg used to bring them on for 20 minutes at the end when we were 3-0 up, and we didn't need anything from them. You just go out and get your bearings, and there's no pressure on you whatsoever. And
Exactly.
now these kids are being brought on with huge pressures on them. I don't know where Gomez was on Wednesday night, but on Sunday he was brought on against West Ham when we needed something, and it's unfair. You're right.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not, and they're not 20-year-olds. They're not 21-year-olds. They're 16, 17, 18-year-olds, Scott. And one coming into an amazing team, yeah, no problems. Look what happened with Kiko Makeda. Came on a sub, brilliant. Scored at Sunderland the next week, brilliant. After that, done.
Yeah.
Adrenaline dump. He was a youngster that went by the seat of his pants because he had all that adrenaline. These youngsters don't even have that because they're weighed down by the whole club and the negativity.
Expectations.
From all angles, Scott, all angles.
Yeah.
So really, the expectation that we had that this might be a really nice night where we get to see the youngsters flourish, it turned into a nightmare, mate. That's the truth. It was an absolute embarrassment against Rochdale. We almost lost it. We almost got knocked out at Old Trafford.
How did you feel when we were going into penalties? Because I was dreading it. And I've never wanted a United game to stop in those terms. I don't know. Penalties are so up in the air, right? There's such just a toss of a coin. Whoever holds the most nerve. And I just didn't see it. I didn't see it possible. It was very similar for me watching an England penalty shootout. We just have no confidence in them. They're probably going to lose it. If we could just turn it off now, it'd be much better. It was a very similar feeling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Scott, I was really. It wasn't so much I didn't think we'd win the shootout. It was more the fact that even if we won it, I knew it was going to be a crap day.
Yeah,
I knew we'd already blown it. We had already drawn 1-1 at home to Rochdale, and if we scraped through the penalty shootout, you saw the players' reaction. Daniel James didn't run off celebrating, and no one ran to him. It was like, bloody hell, that was an absolute nightmare. So yeah, I felt the same, mate.
There was more emotion when we beat AC Milan in pre-season on the penalties than there was then.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
there actually was, right?
Yeah, there was.
Incredible stuff.
Anyway.
So yeah, mate, there's no positive to take away from it apart from Greenwood's goal. It was just a really, really, really shoddy night, as I say, and we've got Chelsea in the next round, so we need to pull our finger out.
Yeah,
big time.
Of course. And Chelsea are going to want to smash us from what happened in the opening day of the season. And it's just another United game I'm dreading.
And they can actually score some goals as well, so
yeah.
That's...
and we can concede some, don't worry about that.
I know, mate. And the problem is that we have got the worst possible game we could have coming up on Monday.
Yeah.
We have Arsenal at home. I'd rather it be away, if I tell the truth. So Ollie said Pogba is a major doubt. Anthony Martial is a major doubt as well, and Luke Shaw won't make it either. What do you make of that, mate? It's going to be, that's Pogba and Martial is a massive creative hub of our team. So we're again going to be shorn of that. What do you make of that team news?
Dread Central, pal.
Yeah.
I'm really, really dreading it.
Yeah, Ollie was asked in the press conference, he was asked, what do you make of your team at the moment? He said they're improving, the culture's there, and they're impressing in training. Now, I can't see the improvement, if I'm honest, Scott. I think we're regressing at the moment. To me, it seems that the team's moving in the wrong direction. The club's moving in the wrong direction. From the outside, that's what it looks like at the moment. It does not look like we're improving. It looks like we're slipping.
Yeah, it's not as though we had a great predicament to improve from. It should be one of the easiest things in the world to improve from what we've been used to the last couple of years. I'm just worried on all counts, pal, whether we've got the right or the wrong man, and now we're stuck in a position that we can't get out of it. These reports about Pochettino leaving Spurs, and you're thinking, are we going to make a bid for that and end up probably in a worse position than we are now in 6 months' time? Who knows?
Well, the worry is, Scott, is that we knew at the end of the summer that we had weakened the side. We said that on the pod. So we said that, and now to expect Ollie to, with that team, improve, we didn't expect it to happen. The question is, did Ollie want more midfielders or attackers? That's the simple question. If the answer is yes, and Woodward didn't deliver, then that's on Woodward. If the answer is no, then Ollie's shot to bits. Because the truth of the matter is that you can't sell all those midfielders and those attackers and expect a load of youngsters to come in instead. Now, I think that he wasn't backed. That's what I think's happened. I don't think Ollie was backed. I think Ollie must have asked for more attackers and more midfielders. And just like Woodward's done in a lot of his seasons, don't forget, there's many summers where he's just delivered one signing for the first team. So it's not a new thing. It's happened with other managers. Mourinho moaned about what he had as well. Moyes certainly wasn't backed like it was promised either. So look, I'm don't you start. He's still waiting for Fabregas to call back.
He's still waiting.
And Toni Kroos.
Oh
God, he never played.
Cheeky.
But at the same time, that's it's just not there, is it? The team's not improving. The team's regressing. The results are worse, and the performances are worse as well. It's hard at the moment. It's hard because I love Ollie. I really, really do, and I love his positivity as well. But there's positivity and there's madness, and at the moment we're on the line, aren't we?
You're right. There's faith and then there's blind faith,
yeah.
and it's really teetering on the edge of either of them. I worry that he gave Woodward a list of targets and it took Woodward months to negotiate. How long it took to negotiate with Harry Maguire. It must be tough. A certain player has a certain value and you go in for him, and then suddenly that value gets doubled because it's United coming in after him, and they know we have the money, and especially we're in a position that we are sort of desperate and we have to buy them. So listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend Woodward at all, but perhaps negotiations would have taken it down, and now we're put in a position that we are going to. It's very similar to Harry Maguire, where last summer we balked at 65 million in this season, and this summer we couldn't spend 85 quick enough. That now we're going to go try and get these same players, maybe Moussa Dembele from Lyon, or a couple other players that we've been linked to, and the price is going to go up even further because we've put ourselves in a position that now it's obvious to everyone in the world just how much we need him.
Scott, I said on that Deadline Day special podcast, I said to you, it feels like we've done last year's transfer business this year.
Yeah.
And just what you said, we're going to do this year's transfer business next year.
Yeah.
And it costs more. And it's mental, Scott. It's absolutely mental. I mean, Ollie was asked about the lack of goals in the press conference, and he immediately said, we improved defensively. We spent all the money at the back. And it was like, no, he's asked about the lack of goals. He hasn't asked about the defence.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't pull the wool over our eyes. He said the finishing could be better, and the keepers are playing fantastically well. The keepers haven't been playing well. We've been hitting the shots straight at them. How many world-class saves have happened? Can you remember? I can't remember one amazing save, if I'm honest.
No, De Gea had a good one against Southampton, I remember, but that's one in...
Well, that's the other end.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, what I mean is the opposition keeper's playing well. Yeah. The opposition keepers are playing so well, they're keeping it. It's not like Brad Friedel back in the day. Remember Blackburn? We used to play Blackburn, and it was like the bloody Matrix. Brad Friedel had just turned into some kind of like 7-armed monster. Yeah. It's not like that. We're hitting it at the keepers.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it? Because 1 minute he's saying, don't put all the pressure on these kids, blah, blah, blah. And then he's saying, Mason Greenwood's the best finisher I've ever seen in my life. And then when questioned about the lack of goals, he says, well, the finishing isn't good enough. And it's like, well, you're just putting more pressure on the kid then, right?
Exactly. And as I say, I don't want to dig out Ollie. And if you talk enough, you're going to talk a lot of nonsense, as I'm sure people who listen to the podcast think. But the truth is that you've still got to keep, as a United manager, you've got to keep a thread of consistency, and you can't jump between posts. And it's starting to be a bit like that.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know where we go from here. I really don't.
No, mate. I would suggest the Arsenal match is going to be absolutely pivotal. But we say that every week, don't we? Mm-hmm. I said the West Ham game is an absolute monumental, massive game. I said everyone's going to be picking up points before we play. And it's critical that we grab the 3 points.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. And then we go into Rochdale and we say, okay, well, let's see the youngsters. And then that's rubbish too. And so then we go, let's go into Arsenal. This is a pivotal game. But, they get less and less pivotal as the season goes by because we're further and further away from where we want to be.
Yeah, I would say that this one is monumentally important. And again, we just need a good performance, pal. We might not get a good result, but we just need a good performance.
We really do. I would suggest if things go south on Monday, there might be absolute carnage ensuing, I think, unfortunately.
Good times.
Yeah, unfortunately, not good times at all to be a United fan, really. But as we say, mate, things can change quickly in football. We've got to keep our chins up. We can't keep moping around, going over the same old stuff, although we seem to be every week. We move on to Monday. Let's hope we can land one on our old enemies, mate, on Monday and have at least one day in the sun and a bit of fun.
Yeah, we need it.
Anyway, remember, subscribe, follow, share and like on your favourite app. We'll be back after the Arsenal game. Until then, thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Reds. Cheerio.
Ta-ra.